Hello, 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 hello. Wherever you happen to be on this transformative world called Earth, I hope that you are having a delightful day, even or night, wherever you're located. Welcome to my channel concerning the world famous 3D package called Blender. But if you're using some other 3D package such as Houdini, Cinema 4D, ZBrush, Maya, 3ds Max, and the list goes on and on and on, almost into eternity, and you curse about Blender, I welcome you to stay here today. Today, I'm just going to be talking about nodes. I'm not going to be modeling nothing. I'm not going to be in a compositor. I just want to have like a family discussion about nodes. Okay, so let me start. So in Blender, as you all know, Blender is becoming more and more node intensive. It is more and more. For instance, when I joined in version 2, I joined with version 2.76. That's the version I came on board with Blender. So basically, I was on board with Blender's, 4 editions prior to 2.80. So I guess you can say I'm still sort of new to it, but I have evolved. So I was to 2.80. So I just was looking for 4 editions. That's it. So you can say I basically got on about 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. Who knows? Because Blender, it updates itself rapidly. It's a rapidly changing, almost organic. It's like an organic piece of software. It's not monolithic. It's not stagnant. It changed rapidly. But anyway, I said I want to go into nodes. That's my title. And I hope there's help to motivate the new users. They are basically, from what I know, if I'm wrong, make a correction to me. I know the sources that use nodes. Number 1, the compositor that use nodes. I know the shader that use nodes. For me, I don't know why it's not called material, because the shades that's deal with materials. So I don't know why they don't call it materials. I know number 3, they're procedural. I have an idea what it is, but I hope I didn't make no procedural use nodes. And now the new kid on the block, from what I know, is 4 geometry nodes. Now I'm sure I covered the major ones. I know there's even a texture nodes. Texture, I can put that for number 5. Texture nodes. But basically, as I heard, Blender will become more and more node based. So it's imperative for us to use nodes. And the major 2 that you can that will help you with all the others, if you know that, and I circled it, if you know how to use a compositor and those shader nodes, that is the big 2 from what I know of Blender. If you can master those, or if you get like 75% proficiency with those 2, you can handle procedural, you can handle the geometry, and you definitely can handle the texture, because the texture basically goes right with the shader nodes. But I say the big 2 is the compositor and the shader, and I think they've been around way before version 2.76. So I want to give an example of those. So I'm gonna erase my little stuff now, and give an example for the new. This is basically for the new users. If they don't know what a compositor is, I'm going to go, before I give my little demonstration, I might as well show the new users. This is for the new users. I want to go into the compositor. Let me get back to this. Let's go into the compositor. Here's your compositor. You always have to use nodes. I click that. When you go into the compositor, it basically, the foundational ones is renders and render layers. And then your major nodes, I believe it's a total of 87 of them. Somebody told me 87. Input, output, color, converter. I have to get the filter. I know about that. Vector. See, now the vector stuff, I have to learn about that. I have to learn about Marte. It's sort of elusive for me. I have to learn about that vector and Marte, because that vector run, I think I use a lot of math stuff. Marte. I think that's mostly deal with colors. I don't know, but you all can correct me. I know about the distort. I know about the group. And I know about the layouts. Now, for me, I'm not no node guru, but I know about them. When I make an animation now, I got to put in my mind, hey, add some compositor nodes to it, add some shaded nodes. That's just to get used to it. Because, like I said, a lot of things, I know Houdini, that's node based. And I know Blender is moving in that direction of Houdini of being a node-based entity. Okay, so that's the nodes. I'm going to click on the shading tab. Let me click on shading. Okay, good. This is the shader. I clicked on shader. This is the shader. Now I know for the shader, I should have had an object there, but I don't have no object. Let me go back to my layout and let me go to the layout. My computer's a little bit slow, so sorry about that, everybody. Let me just add me a little, I'm going to add a mesh. I'm going to add Suzanne the monkey. Right there. Now let me go back to the shader. And I'm going to give you an example of what each of these do, but I'm not going to work on it right now. I'm just going to give you an example. What you see right here is the world view. I think it's used, and it's using that HDRI image. I can click right here. Let me see if I go up here. I don't use it that much. I click on here. See, I have my HDRI. Let me use a black one and see it change. And the HDRI images is basically giving another additional light source. Like I said, I know stuff about it, but I have to get in the habit of using it, because usually when I make an animation, I'm just so happy that it's over that I just leave it alone. I don't even touch it. I think a lot of the people on Blender, when they make a little animation, they don't say, let me just go to the compositor just to show them how to use it. I don't think a lot of us do that. We just make something in a report and show it to you, and that's that. Alright, so now I do know the compositor. I'm sorry, the shader. The shader will just affect Susanna. Don't worry about the background. I'm going to go over that. It was about affecting that object, like Susanna. I can affect the object, as I say right here where my mouse at, or I can do the world. The world is that background, what you said now, where the HDRI image at. I can control the background, so the shader is powerful. And I never did with the line style. I don't know what that is too much. But I know the main ones that most people use is for objects, give them Susanna material, and I know they experiment with the world. Okay, good. So we got an idea of the two major components for using nodes. That compositor, which I showed you earlier right here, and the shading. Like I said, if you master compositing, you master shading, you can do all the others. So if you're new to Blender, don't be trying to struggle learn about the geometry nodes. You can if you want to. Don't be struggling trying to learn about the procedural nodes. You can, because I know the procedural, it makes it more dynamic. Like when you use that node, it gives your object some dynamics to it. But still, the major one, that compositor and the shader. So let me go back to the layout and give my little demonstration about these right now. So I'm going to click on my first image right here. This image represents the compositor. Let me write it down. This is a compositor image. Why my mouse not working? Let me just click on it. So, and I'm explaining for those people who are new. Let me make sure I can write with annotate. So now I can write. This is a composite. I just can say composite image. And I'm going to explain why. It's a composite image because we had this background. The composite basically, you can say it out in a way it affects the background. It can affect different render layers if you wanted to. And I have a video on render layers if you want to learn about render layers. But for this one, the major render layer is that is going to be affecting the background. You see right here, it has this green screen right here. It's taking it, it's affecting the background by taking that green screen out and putting this. It may be just an image. It can be just an image. Usually it's just an image. But you can't tell because the way you see it, it looks like it's real. It took away the green screen and put an image there. That's an example of the composite that it can do. It can change the overall look of the scene. Like you see, the compositor, at least in this instance, is not affecting the main figure. The main figure right here is that leg. The leg has not been affected in any way. It's still there. The background is what the compositor has changed for the most part. So for the most part, the compositor has added a little bit pop to your scene. So let me go to my next one. So that's what the compositor changed. It's basically a scene alters. It basically alters your scene. Most times, it may just leave your central image alone, like the leg. Okay, so let me go on to my next. Let me erase this and explain my next one. Like I said, I'm just explaining to the best of my ability the major two components of at least Blender when it comes to those nodes. So I'm done with this. I'm done with this image. Okay, when I go back to annotate. So I'm done with that image one. Here's my second image I'm going to talk about. Now, this is the shader. Let me zoom in some more so you can see. Now, you may not intuitively know. The woman, she looks the same. She looks the same. I'm going to call this image A. This is A and B. She looked the same here. Same. And I put same. She looked, her hair the same, her ear the same, her face the same. For the man who's speaking, his head is the same. His head on both A and B is the same. His jacket is the same. Now, look at the woman's jacket. Look at her clothing. It's different. I put different here. And it's different right here. One, I can get rid of the word different. I just put here, same. Here is primarily blue. Right here. And it's white right here. And this is the shader. This is what the shader can do for you. Here's blue, her jacket. Here is white. And here it looks black. The shader affects the actual artifact. Remember that. The shader affects the mesh. Affects the mesh. That's what, if you didn't know it, that is what a shader does. If I had a metallic figure, I can make rust on it. And I can change the color. But it makes a dynamic change to the actual mesh. That's all it does. I can erase all of this now. So we got an idea what a shader does. Some things may not change, but it will change other things. In this case, the mesh that has been changed was her coat or her clothing. That's all a shader does. It changes the actual mesh. It leaves, for the most part, if you don't choose world or nothing, if you just choose object, it affects the object. Yeah, that's basically it. I'm gonna put that up on the board. I'll put it right. A shader affects, changes. I put changes. Changes the object / mesh, and that's it. If I wanted to, I can make the woman look darker. I can make it look lighter. I can change it green, blue, whatever. That's all the shader is. It's just to change that. So that's it, my good people. I said I ain't doing no 3D modeling and none of that. I just want to go over for the new people out there what the compositor does, what a shader does, and I listed those other types of nodes. And that is, I believe that's the hardest part of using Blender. Mastering those nodes. Because I hear that on many. When I do my research and check out nodes on many channel, that's the hardest part. Because even when I look at nodes, nobody don't go blow, blah, blow and explain exactly what a node does. A lot of times you just use them. I guess because they're not educators like me. Like for me, if I knew the nodes, I can give you a blow, blah, blow, which I'm trying to do because I do have some nodes listed. Blow, blah, blow of what the node does instead of just tossing them on the screen. So that's it, my good people, about the major nodes that new users, and I still consider new to using those nodes. I consider myself still new to using nodes. I gotta get into the habit of using the composite and the shader in my scene just to change it a little bit until I get the required skills at using them on a regular, consistent basis. So thank you for stopping by. And like I always like to say to people, keep learning, don't stop. Never quit. If you love it, if it's in your blood, you won't stop. Because I'm rooting for you. The Blender community rooting for you. The Blender artists rooting for you. And Tone Rosendahl rooting for you. So you keep striving like I'm striving. Till the next time, family, peace. Oh my God. Mouse now. I gotta use this key.